This is Looking Forward for Astronomy 100 for Thursday, the 27th of February, 2014. As you get ready for class tomorrow, I'd like you to read units 46 and 48.3 through 48.5 of your book. I'd like you to think about a couple of questions. The first one has to do with planets. Think of the Earth, or Mars, or Jupiter, or Saturn. We know these planets rotate. Here's a rotation axis where they spin. What determines what the rotation axis is, and how do we measure that? How do we know that? How do we see it? Second of all, these planets all have magnetic fields. What determines what the axis is for those magnetic field lines? And how do those axes, the spin axis and the magnetic field axis, compare to each other? And what does that tell you? Now, if you had another planet, let's say here, that was a gas giant, what do we mean by that? How does the inside compare to the outside? And by being a gas giant, are we guaranteed that the spin axis and the magnetic field axes are going to be the same? Why or why wouldn't that be the case, and what could that tell us? That's question number one. For number two, I'd like you to think about one of the first observations that we talked about in class, namely the plane of the ecliptic. If we have stars on the sky, what is this plane of the ecliptic, and what does it mean relative to the motions we see? And most importantly, what does it tell us about the origin and evolution and location and path of those planets in the plane of the ecliptic? Now, if we had a planet, I'll say P here for planet, that didn't follow the plane of ecliptic very closely, what would that tell us about its location, origin, and path? Put another way, if you go back to Sesame Street and think about one of these things is not like the others, one of these things just doesn't belong, why? In what way are one of these things not like the others? And most importantly, what's the underlying physical cause that you might be able to come up with that tells us that? This is Dr. Doty. We'll talk about those things and more when we're together on class tomorrow. See you then.